Hello, hello, my friends. I threw this video idea out last week during my Friday Five, and I had a couple of you comment, yes, please. So today's video, I am going to be sharing with you what initially was going to be my top 10 Kringle candles. You guys know I have a hard time with with like choosing a lot of things. So when I went through and started putting together my list, it actually ended up being a top 12. So much like my winter candle suggestions that also had the number 12. Apparently that seems to be the number for me recently. And so today, these are going to be my top 12 Kringle candles. Now, the reason why I feel like this video might be very helpful for a lot of you, whether you have been shopping from Kringle for years or maybe you are new to the brand, couple of things here. I am a Kringle affiliate. I am an ambassador for the brand. This video is not sponsored by them. It's not, first off, I don't do any sponsored content, but they don't even know that I'm putting this together. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because of that brand affiliation. I oftentimes have access to a lot of PR. I'm very, very familiar with their fragrance catalog. And for me, I am somebody that I don't consider myself a candle collector. I am a candle lover. I am somebody who likes to use up my stash season to season. I don't like to keep tons and tons of backups of candles. I just don't have the space for it. And it's also just not my personality. Not saying that that's how you have to be. I'm just saying that that's mine. And so because I have that mindset, I tend to be very, very intentional about what I repurchase. And so I figured that this type of video would be really helpful because, like I said, I'm somebody who's pretty familiar with the catalog of fragrances. I've been sent quite a bit of PR from Kringle over the last couple of years. And so I feel like I've got a pretty good pulse on what their offerings are. And so because I'm intentional, because I know what a lot of these fragrances are, um, it I feel like if I've repurchased a fragrance quite a few times, then that's saying something. If there's a fragrance that every season that it comes about, because you guys, I'm talking about fragrances that cross all 4 seasons in this video. If it is a fragrance that I am like, yes, I am prioritizing purchasing that candle again, it should tell you guys just how much I love it. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to my channel if you are new. As always, all of the candles that I am talking about today, I will make sure that I have listed with timestamps in the description box down below. I do have an affiliate code with Kringle. Like I said, it is Katie15. It will save you 15% off of any items that are marked full price in your cart. It is an affiliate code that's eligible for a commission, so please only use that if you are comfortable. And the fun thing about this video today is at the time that I am filming this, I think the sale will still be going on. They are running a buy one, get one 50% off on select candles. And a couple of the candles that I'm going to be talking about today do qualify for that promotion. Not all of them. So I will make sure that I let you guys know when I talk about each of those candles if they are currently available, because I did check on the website prior to printing out my little form and gathering everything. Now, I will also say that 8 of the 12 fragrances I currently have in front of me. The other 4 I do not. And we'll talk about that when I get to it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and dive right on in to my top 12. These are in no particular order, you guys. These are just I'm just going to reach for them as I can. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start out with 2 candles that are actually empties right now. You will see these in my empties video next week. The first candle that I wanted to talk about was the first candle that I mentioned in my top winter fragrances, and it is the fragrance Cozy Cabin. Cozy Cabin has fragrance notes of firewood, cedarwood, brown sugar, cinnamon bark, vanilla, and warm maple. Now this I did have in the 4-wick format. I probably won't go into too much detail about this one because, again, I just mentioned this in my top winter fragrances. This is my number 1 winter fragrance from Kringle. I particularly like burning this after the holidays. To my nose, you guys, I know that the maple note scares a lot of people off, but I don't get that. I definitely get kind of like a firewood accord mixed with some brown sugar. There's a hint of sweetness from the maple, but again, my nose wouldn't be like, oh, this is like maple on pancakes or anything like that. Not even the same maple note that was used in a lot of their fall fragrances. In, I think it was their 2024 fall lineup. They used maple quite a bit in that collection. I don't even detect the maple like that. This to me smells actually like kind of like what you're picturing here, which I know a lot of places over the around the country looked like this last weekend. But yeah, this one is just so good. It's so cozy. I will say I personally recommend it in this 4-wick format, which I don't believe that this is currently on the website. But if you're looking forward to next winter, or if this one happens to pop back into stock into the 4-wick and you're somebody who likes to still burn winter fragrances throughout February and March, snag this one if it shows up on the website. Because I will say that in the 2-wick, it performs okay in a closed concept, but if you want to burn it in a more open concept space and be able to smell it well, get it in the 4-wick. So Cozy Cabin was my first one. Another fragrance that you will see in my empties, and this is kind of like this is a Christmas scent, slightly after Christmas fragrance. It is Cozy Christmas. So again, I purchased it in the 4-wick. Fragrance notes on Cozy Christmas are firewood, Nordic cedar, nutmeg, orange rind, and vanilla bean. I've also talked about this one a lot recently because a lot of people put this in the same fragrance category as Bath and Body Works Winter, which I would agree with that. It's like a distant, I wouldn't even say distant cousin. It's a cousin to Bath and Body Works Winter. If you want a more like a sibling, like a twin sister to Winter from Kringle, it would be their Frosted Dawn. I actually like Cozy Christmas a little bit more because I get a hint of that orange rind in here. And I like that they say orange rind because it's not as juicy of an orange as, say, Vintage Pomander or their now retired Away in a Manger. It's not an orange forward fragrance. You get some of that hearthside type of element to it, but it's not overly smoky. It's not like a bonfire type of fragrance. It just gives you all of those cozy vibes. I do smell the clove. I don't think the clove is as heavy in here as it is in Frosted Dawn or Bath and Body Works Winter. But this one is a fantastic fragrance. Again, you guys will kind of notice a pattern here. If there's a fragrance that I particularly love that is available in the 4-wick format, I will typically gravitate towards that just because this is my favorite format. I talked about it. When did I talk about this? Was it last week? Maybe. I do know that I, as well as a lot of other people in the Kringle Facebook group, as well as some other ambassadors, we did pass along some of the wick issues that some of us were experiencing on the 4-wicks about halfway through the burn to Mick Kittredge, and they've had a meeting about that. They have a plan moving forward to address that. So once again, one of the many reasons why I love Kringle because they are always listening to customer feedback. And while I'm touching on that, you guys, Mick did post something in the Kringle Facebook group a couple of days ago. If you are part of that Facebook group, but you haven't really been in there in a while, I would really encourage you to check out that post because he was asking for some feedback about how should they approach bringing back either like retired fragrances. Sometimes people are upset when they do retire fragrances. And so he was wanting some ideas about should they do polling? Should they do pre-orders? If they plan to bring some fragrances back. So if you haven't yet had time to give some input there, head over to the Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook, maybe I would suggest emailing Kringle's customer service so that way they can go ahead and pass that information along. But just wanted to say that he's really, really good about addressing a lot of things. I'll talk about something else at the end of this video that he also addressed. But anyways, you guys, Cozy Christmas, Cozy Cabin, definitely some winter fragrances that I like. I think I'm going to go ahead and just keep talking about the fragrances that are right here in front of me. And then I'll talk about the 4 that I don't have in my collection last. So continuing on with some fragrances that I feel, with a fragrance that I feel like I've talked about a lot recently, is the scent Jelly Donut. Little bit of a spoiler alert, you guys, you will see this candle in my Friday 5 this week. This is the GOAT. A lot of us, when we think of Kringle Candle, a lot of people think Jelly Donut. When it comes to their reserve line especially, fragrance notes are raspberry, blackberry, pastry, fruit, citrus, butter, vanilla. Again, I'm not going to go too far into depth on this one because I already talked about this one a lot, or I plan to talk about it a lot in my Friday 5. But this to me is just so authentic to what you're seeing pictured here. Everything from the little hint of powdered sugar to the jelly filling, not being artificial or cloying. It is just so authentic. You get the hint of that very lightly fried dough Oh, it's just perfection. This one does always perform quite well for me in this 2-wick, solid 8.5 in terms of performance. But this is one that I've had in a 2-wick. I know it's also available in a 4-wick. But truthfully, you guys, in my space, the 2-wick performs just fine for me. And I will tell you guys that this is one of the fragrances that is currently available for the Valentine's Day buy one, get one 50% off. So if you've been interested in it, now might be a good time to pick it up. All right, let me see. One other fragrance that I've talked about recently. I'm trying to get those ones out of the way because I feel like you guys, I've already kind of like talked about them enough recently that you might be like, okay, yeah, we know you love that one. Rosemary Lemon. This is another one that I've featured over my last 2 sit-down videos. Rosemary Lemon, herbs, lemon, jasmine, lime, orchid, peach, tea, wood, lang. I've talked about how this is this this is one of the fragrances that was in my very, very first Kringle order, as was Cozy Cabin, when I first ordered from them about 5 years ago now. And this is a perennial staple for me, particularly this time of year where I am kind of wanting some like winter to spring transitional scents. Those of you who have been with me for a while, you guys know I live in Arizona. It is currently 70 degrees outside today. So I like fragrances like this come January, February, very springtime vibes. It's a very clean, fresh lemon, not a gourmand lemon, mixed with that rosemary element in here. I know they list a bunch of other notes in here, you guys, but I'm just going to say that to me, the main essence of this candle that I get is clean lemon, clean rosemary, but it doesn't smell like an artificial household cleaner. It's just done very, very well. Pairs beautifully with their grapefruit and rosemary, which is in the Country Candle line. I know that's been discontinued. And I know that this fragrance is also one of Mick's favorites. I saw on his Instagram stories last week that he was burning this as well. And I DM'd him. I was like, you can never ever get rid of this fragrance. And he's like, don't worry, it's safe. I think it's one of his favorites as well. So Rosemary Lemon is definitely another fragrance that is in my top ones. All right, let's go ahead and I'm actually going to talk about a fall candle really quickly before I get into some that are more spring and summer. And this one might surprise some of you, maybe not if you've been following my channel for a while. I actually only have one fall fragrance here that is like my tip top. There's another one that I had as like an honorable mention. I'll just say an honorable mention for me is pumpkin waffles. But I think that I've come to conclude that fall is maybe one of the seasons that I feel like Kringle does just okay for me. Particularly last year's fall collection was way too heavy on the perfumey, patchouli, cedarwood. It was too much for me. It just wasn't really my vibe. I tend to like more of a gourmand, pumpkin, cranberry, apple type of fall. And I felt like the fall collection last year was a little bit too conceptual. I think for me, I'm just more of a basic fall type of person. However, this fragrance, again, is one that I discovered a couple of years ago. And I remembered thinking like, oh, this is a dupe of one of my favorites from Bath and Body Works, but I think that it's done better. Ooh, I'm already smelling it. Am I ready for fall yet? No, I'm not. But this one is one that always gets me excited. It is the fragrance Autumn Amber. And I feel like this is a fragrance that flew under the radar for a long time. I feel like it started to get some love last year. So Autumn Amber has fragrance notes of apple blossom, floral, cedarwood, and pine. And like I said, if you have ever been a fan of Bath and Body Works Autumn, this is very much like the sophisticated older sister to Autumn. Very much the same fragrance profile. I think it's done a little bit better. It's not as synthetic, I would say, as Bath and Body Works version. I love this scent so much. And it's funny, this one, I actually have 2 of these 4-wicks because I will say this is not the strongest performer in the 2-wick. I did find better performance in the 4-wick, but I want to say it was around Black Friday. Was it around Black Friday? They had these 4-wick vessels for 50% off. And I immediately messaged my contact at Kringle. I was like, please tell me that that fragrance is not being discontinued. Because Sometimes in those like after season sales, when you see something go 50% off, it means that it's being discontinued. And sometimes it means that they're just clearing out their warehouse inventory. And thankfully he responded back to me and he's like, oh no, that one's not going anywhere. He's like, we're just trying to make some space in the warehouse. And I was like, oh, phew. But I definitely purchased 2 of these because that was a screaming deal. $22.50 for this 4-wick. These vessels typically retail for $45. So I definitely made sure to purchase 2 of those. All right, since we are inching closer to spring, I actually have a little bit of a combo. This, again, is another fragrance that was in my very, very first Kringle Candle order because this is a fragrance that is very sentimental to me. You guys already know where I'm going if you've been with my channel, where I'm talking about a spring fragrance here. Feel free to comment down below what candle am I about to feature right now. Lots of sentimental memories tied to my mother. Yes, it is the fragrance Fresh Lilac. So Fresh Lilac has fragrance notes. Oh, you know what? I think on mine here, it's a little bit, it got scuffed. I think it's lilac, floral musk, freesia, jasmine, magnolia, sweet pea, and tuberose. So here's the thing about this fragrance, you guys. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. This fragrance to me smells like the most authentic, freshly cut lilac fragrance that I've tried across many candle brands. And I laugh. My friend Greg over at All About Candles, excuse the language if there are children in the room, but he always says he's a hoe for a good vanilla, and I feel that way about lilac. I have tried lilac fragrances from just about every candle brand. If they offer, I would say the candle brands that I frequently shop from, if they offer a lilac fragrance, I'm going to try it. I've tried Yankees, I've tried Bath and Body Works, you know, Kringle's version. I feel like there's another one that I tried at some point. This is the best one to me. And the reason why is because you get the lilac petals, but you also get kind of that woody stem accord that when you have freshly trimmed lilacs off of the bush, I get that smell in here, and it is so good. I've always talked about one of my core memories growing up was we had a small orchard near our house growing up that grew lilacs in the spring, and my mom used to take us over there. They had a barn that was built in like the late 1800s, and that's where they like gathered all the lilacs in after they had been freshly cut. They had them in the water, and then you would pick out what bushel you wanted, and they would wrap them in newspaper. We would take them home. My mom would put them on the mantle over our fireplace, and it was in the living room, and it just scented our entire living room. I mean, just like a candle would, right? I mean, they were so potent and beautiful. And so again, that's a very, very sweet childhood memory that I have. And so Fresh Lilac, every time I burn it, I definitely think of those happy memories from childhood. Now, a fragrance that actually was released last year in their Reserve line, and some of you guys may or may not be surprised to see this one make my list, but the way that I looked at it was I was initially sent this in PR. I bought it in backup, and it is a fragrance that I would continue to buy if I were to see it go on a decent sale, or even if it's not on a decent sale when I finish going through this one this spring, because I know I love the candle that I pair it with so much that it's always going to be perennially in my household. This is one that has made that top 12 because while we are talking about lilac, I loved last year's Reserve Lilac and Lily. Now, Lilac and Lily has fragrance notes of lilac, lily, green, floral, musk, and moss. So what are the differences between Fresh Lilac and Lilac and Lily? Fresh Lilac, like I said, has more of that woody stem element, where this focuses more on the floral aspect of the lilac, and I get a little bit of that lily in here too. There's something about that this is more, this just has that little extra level of prettiness, I would say. Whereas I said like Fresh Lilac is just straight up fresh cut lilacs. This I have lilac. I mean, lilac is still definitely prominent. Take a shot every time I say the word lilac here. You might be sleeping pretty well after watching this video. Or don't take a shot. But yeah, this one, again, I remembered smelling this last year and I was like, ooh, I love this. And it's funny because I have never really considered myself to be much of a floral lover. But like I said, I love me some lilac. And this one is done so beautifully well. But I would say if you're somebody who wants more, because I won't even say that, like fresh lilac is definitely a floral fragrance, but it's got more of the woody stem element. If you don't want that, if you want just lilac mixed with a little bit of lily, you want something that's kind of like just a very pretty, maybe I would say maybe slightly perfumey, but not really. It's not perfumey to me. It's really just like the natural perfuminess you would get from a good floral. That's what I smell here. Again, such a beautiful fragrance. I love this simplistic label on here. I feel like this one got maybe a little bit overlooked because I think that there's quite a few ambassadors who are not floral lovers. I know Brett from Philly Candleman. He is a floral lover. But I could go either way. I know Melanie doesn't always love florals because they remind her of work. But yeah, this one is really, really good. Again, it's flying under the radar. If you like fresh lilac, pick up Lilac and Lily, and then you can burn them complementary to each other as a combo. And it is a fantastic fragrance pairing. All right, another candle here that came into my collection in 2024. I think this was part of the spring and summer lineup in 2024, which it's funny. As I was going about looking at my collection, I was like, you know what? That spring summer collection from 2024 had some absolute gems. I'm actually currently burning the lemon tea and roses from the country candle lineup. That is now transferred over. That's a fantastic fragrance, and I remember that was part of it. But I would say my winner of that collection, because it ended up being my favorite fragrance from 2024, was Ice Cream Sandwiches from Kringle Candle. Now I'm trying to see, did I write down, you know what, I don't have the fragrance notes for Ice Cream Sandwiches, but what you are picturing here on the label is what this candle smells like. Now, to my nose, here's the thing I am going to say. I think maybe some people were a little, I don't know if people knew what to expect from this. This to me, I smell macadamia, I smell coconut. I smell a little hint of chocolate. It's not an overtly chocolate. I know there are some people who have gotten this candle and they're like, all I smell is the chocolate. The chocolate's in the background for me. There's creaminess. There is, it sounds funny, almost a little hint of like whatever these rainbow sprinkles accord would be. I get like all of it in this candle, and I just absolutely love it. Now, I will say my favorite candle to pair this with from Kringle is Bananas Foster. And I know that that is a very polarizing fragrance. A lot of people, which I've said this about a lot of Kringle gourmands, get that kind of like scorched note because the Bananas Foster does have a little bit of like that caramelized sugar going on in it. However, I will tell you guys what I have learned with Bananas Foster. I only like it in the 2-wick. I would not get it in the 4-wick. I feel like it would be a little bit too much in the 4-wick. I only like it in the 2-wick, and I really only like burning it with ice cream sandwiches. There's something about those two fragrances that they complement each other very, very well when I burn them, one in one room and one in the other. But yeah, this was my fragrance of the year of 2024. I love, love, love this scent. I've always gotten really good performance out of the 2-wick. I think that this is probably my third or fourth vessel that I've purchased, and I've always been content with the performance in the 4-wick. So when I've usually bought them on like during a buy one get one sale. This one is also included in the current buy one get one 50% off. So is Fresh Lilac. Fresh Lilac and the ice cream sandwiches. The Lilac and Lily is unfortunately not included in that sale right now. But yeah, this one, very, very good. So those are the 8 candles that I have in front of me. Let's go ahead and talk about the 4 that I do not have in front of me right now, but all 4 of them will eventually be back into my collection at some point this year. Starting with the first one, which truthfully, you guys, I actually had this in my cart for the buy one, get one 50% off sale. And then I decided, no, you know what? Hold on, Katie. Like, you still need to see what Kringle comes out with for their spring and summer collection this year. Just hold your horses on this one. And there were 2 candles that I was more interested in trying out that I hadn't tried. Anyways, the fragrance that I wanted to talk about is Sea Breeze. So right now this is only available in a 2-wick. They have had it in a 4-wick in the past, and you guys know that is my preferred format. I think that's the other reason why I didn't purchase it, is because I'm like, yeah, I really like it in the 4-wick. Sea Breeze has fragrance notes, top notes of ozone, coconut, mid of fruit and green, and a base note of coconut and amber. That fragrance to me, you guys, it's not a coconut gourmand. It's just a perfect beachy coconut without it leaning sunscreen. The image on the candle is very much like you're on a beach with just like those coconut palms just swaying in the wind there. It reminds me of just being at the beach. There's almost like a, I would say, is there like a salt air type of vibe to it? I think that's the ozone accord in there. It's a beautiful, beautiful coconut fragrance. Like I said, it's not gourmand coconut, it's not creamy coconut, but that fragrance, part of the reason why I like it so much in the summer is because it pairs beautifully with a lot of other fragrances that are currently in my collection. So say you have like a pineapple forward type of fragrance, or you have a banana fragrance. I actually really, really liked that candle paired with Ocean Tide, which was a 3-wick repackage of the country candle Paradise Breeze. That combo was absolutely perfect. That Paradise Breeze was more of like a banana forward type of scent, but Sea Breeze, definitely highly, highly recommend that one for the summer. And hopefully when they pour that into a 4-wick again, I will make sure that I repurchase it. Another fragrance that is kind of like a spring summer type of scent, and this is another scent that was initially sent to me in PR as part of that 2024 lineup, is the fragrance Coral. Now, Coral has top notes of ozonic freshness, sparkling bergamot, and a splash of lemon, mid notes of lavender and sandalwood, a base note of creamy tonka bean, smooth amber, and sheer musk. I have always said that Coral gives me sophisticated hotel lobby at the beach type of vibes. If you were going to a really high-end beach resort, I feel like Coral is what their lobby would smell like. It is clean without it being laundry fresh clean. It's a little bit perfumey, but it's not like heavy perfume. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. It's a little bit harder for me to describe not having it right here in front of me. I pick up a little bit of the lavender in there. But again, there's sweetness in there from the bergamot and the lemon. It's kind of bright, but mildly soapy, I would say. It's a beautiful fragrance. Love that one. Quick little shout out. It didn't make my top 12 list, but I will say that if you are somebody who's looking for good fragrance combos, maybe you have a large Kringle stash, pair Coral with sea salt and tonka. Sea salt and tonka, I feel like, is the slightly more, I would say, like slightly more neutral masculine type of counterpart to Coral. I feel like Coral leans a little bit feminine soapy, whereas I feel like Sea Salt and Tonka, they just complement each other, you know? And so I would say that those two, if you happen to have Sea Salt and Tonka, or maybe you see them in a buy one, get one sale, Coral is part of, I think both of those, Coral and Sea Salt and Tonka, are part of the buy one, get one 50% off. So if you're looking for a good fragrance combo for the summer, those two are very, very good. All right, so we talked about some summer ones. I know I started off this video with some winter candles. I will tell you guys still, probably my number one Christmas fragrance from Kringle Candle is their number one seller, Christmas. Christmas has fragrance notes. Top notes are listed as cedarwood, musk, mid notes of sandalwood, Siberian fir, and Siberian fir needles, and a base of wood. I've always loved that fragrance because it is warm. It smells like a Christmas tree. It's slightly sappy. I know that some people don't really love that. I mentioned this in all of my videos, I feel like, over the last couple of months. I personally, when it comes to tree fragrances, tend to gravitate towards warm, woody fragrances. If you are somebody who does not like warm, woody scents, if you're this is kind of in line with like Time's Fraser Fir. If you like Caramel Sundays, Dad's Fresh Cut Fraser, I do feel like Christmas is slightly more woody and warm than even either of those fragrances. But it's a beautiful fragrance. It just smells like an authentic Christmas tree. It's become a staple in my household every holiday season. And so Christmas definitely is one that I would recommend purchasing. Now, the reason why I didn't purchase it in the after Christmas sale is because I actually prefer that in the 4-wick format, and they don't currently have that one in stock, but I would definitely repurchase it in the 4-wick format. And just to let you guys know how much that one is loved, I actually had it in a 3-wick, and I gifted the 3-wick to a good friend of mine who, she likes candles, but she has mentioned to me she has said, I feel like if I buy Bath and Body Works candles, she said I have to put them under a candle lamp and turn it down very, very low because she says they're too strong for me and they give me a headache. So I know I am one of the few people in the candle community who has said I don't always want my candles to smack me in the face. I have a lot of very fragrance sensitive friends and family. And well, I mean, I like fragrance, I like to smell it, right? I don't need it to be like all encompassing, overwhelming me. I like it to be more of a background fragrance that is noticeable. And anyways, my friend was saying, she's like, what was that candle that you got me again for my birthday? She's like, my daughter, my husband, all of us were like savoring that fragrance. Like, don't let it burn out. We love it so much. So I told her, I said, I'll let you know when that one comes back into stock in the 4-wick and when you can get it on sale, because she absolutely loved Christmas. And then the final candle that is on my list here, you guys, this is one I don't have in front of me because I didn't purchase backups of it when I could have last year. And I do know that more is on the way. We don't have a date yet when it is on the way, but say it with me, Red Velvet. Now, this was part of the 2025 Valentine's Day reserves. They didn't actually call that the Valentine's Day collection, but it was pretty obvious by the type of fragrances that were offered that it was a Valentine's Day collection. Red Velvet has fragrance top notes of chocolate and sweet, mid notes of milk chocolate and cocoa, and a base note of vanilla cream. Now, that fragrance to me, you guys, is the most authentic red velvet fragrance that I have tried. And I've tried a couple of different ones. I saw a little spoiler that I think Caramel Sundays might be coming out with a red velvet fragrance, maybe within the next couple of months. So that's exciting. But that red velvet fragrance from Kringle, you guys, is done so well. Now, one of the things that I will say about that scent, I do have a review on it. If you look in my review catalog, one of the things about it is that it smells like a red velvet cake that is baking in the oven. It doesn't have the icing accord, which I personally like, because sometimes I feel like when candle companies put a frosting accord in, it kind of ruins the fragrance for me. Sometimes the frosting can be either too cloying, too milky, too lactonic. It just throws the cake element off for me. And I think I've come to realize that I appreciate the cake accord more than the frosting. So I would say that if you're hoping to get red velvet for like a cream cheese frosting forward fragrance, you'll probably be disappointed because it is more of a cake fragrance. The other things that people ask sometimes, they're like, well, how is it different than a chocolate cake fragrance? Red velvet, if you've ever made red velvet from scratch, one of the things that separates it from being a traditional chocolate cake is obviously the red dye, but it is also that there's a little bit of white vinegar that is put into the batter, and that slightly alters the flavor from it being a regular chocolate cake. And it's funny, I was actually just talking about this the other day with one of my daughter's friends. He was over. Liam, we already discussed this, right? Like, people have got to know the difference between red velvet and traditional chocolate. He and I were like, yes, like we were tracking with each other. So anyways, red velvet, when it does make its return, I definitely want to get more back into my collection because that fragrance was just so beautifully done, and I am very, very excited for it to make a return. So those are my top 12, you guys. And I just want to say, there have probably been other Kringle candles in the past that I have raved about. Some of them are retired. If you ever come across them on like Mercari or any like resale sites, if they ever bring them back. Other ones that I will just give like honorable mentions to, Away in a Manger. We all know I love that one. Fruit and Flakes, which was also called Sugar Diamonds in the 3-wick. That was a fantastic fragrance. They had a Chocolate Bunnies candle from their Easter collection a couple of years ago that was in a 3-wick, and they also had a Jelly Bean candle. It's not the same as Jelly Bean Jubilee that's coming out in the Easter collection. I don't like Jelly Bean Jubilee, but I did like a Jelly Bean candle that they had. I want to say it was 2022, 2023. One of those years, they had a Jelly Bean candle that I really, really enjoyed in a 3-wick format. But yeah, those are just some of the fragrances that I've loved across the years. But when I compiled this list, these were the ones that just came top of my mind. I went and scrolled what was currently on the Kringle website, and these were the ones that just jumped out to me as fragrances that I have frequently repurchased. So feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite Kringle fragrances are. I'm not even going to put a number on it for you guys. If it's only one, if it's three, if it's 5, 10, I don't care. Feel free to, let us know just off the top of your head, what are the ones that first come to mind as your favorites. So that pretty much does it for my ranking here. Other little piece of housework that I did want to update you guys on. I will talk about this as well in my Friday 5 on Friday. We all know that Kringle will be releasing their Easter fragrances on Thursday, February 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do have PR on the way for that collection. I have been notified that I'm receiving 5 of the new Easter fragrances, as well as the new St. Patrick's Day candle. And then just a little bit of a spoiler alert, you guys, when the Easter collection does go live, I will plan to purchase the other 3 fragrances that I have not tried before and were not being sent. The other 3 new fragrances that are new and I haven't tried them yet. They were not ready yet by the time they needed to send out PR, which is why those didn't go out. But I do plan to purchase them. So the entire Kringle catalog of Easter, I should have some thoughts on for you guys. Like I said, the 3 that are new, you're going to have to wait until launch, until after launch, actually, for me to give my thoughts. But I hope to have a video up on that by this weekend. At the time that I am filming this, I think that they are saying that that package is scheduled to arrive on Friday. So at the earliest, I'm thinking that will be Saturday or Sunday video, but who knows? It just depends on what my weekend looks like here and how I can fit that into my schedule. But one of the things that I will address here, I mentioned how Mick talked about, wanting some feedback on the Facebook group. He did also mention the reason why the new Easter collection is in the 2-wick format is because they had some issues with their glass supplier having their workers on strike, and so it caused a backlog on their orders, and they're trying to catch up on things, but it just created some hiccups for them. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in the Easter video, but wanted to touch on that because I know not everybody watches every single one of my videos, and you should, but I know not everybody does. So yeah, just trying to give you guys some updated information. So once again, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Again, feel free to leave a comment what your favorite Kringle candles are. And yeah, if I don't know, if you like this video, you can use some of those hype points, whatever that means. I don't know. Feel free to hype this video up. But yeah, I have more content coming up for you guys this weekend. I should have my Friday 5. Like I said, a Kringle Easter preview. And then I'm also expecting an order in this week from the Gift Gala shop. So I'm really excited to share my first thoughts with you guys from that small business. So you guys won't want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. I do want to say thank you so very, very much for spending your time here with me today. And until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.